Okay. All right. We on here. We on here, y'all. I watched this Lisa Frank documentary. What was this? What was this? Like, what happened? What was the plot? How did we lose it so quickly? This documentary, I didn't know, first of all, I didn't know the documentary was even coming out. So, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, wait a minute, what Lisa Frank documentary? It's because I don't know. I don't even know. Like, I didn't see advertisements for it or anything. I literally saw somebody post about it on threads. And then after I saw the post, I was like, oh, well, let me figure out where I need to go so that I can watch this documentary. And so it's on Amazon Prime. If you were like a 90s baby, even like, 80s, but you like really grew up in the 90s, then you know about Lisa Frank and like how happy seeing Lisa Frank designs like made you. Like it was just like it made school shopping fun. It made like I remember like the Lisa Frank backpacks. They had the coloring books. They had the Trapper Keeper, and I was never. By the time Lisa Frank was like, by the time I was old enough to like really need a Trapper Keeper. Hey Kayla. By the time I was old enough to like really need a Trapper Keeper, Lisa Frank was like not even really relevant anymore. So I didn't even really get to live in that era for real, for real. But I just remember like loving the print. Like it just made me feel good. And so this documentary came out and it is I can't remember the name of it exactly. It's something about glitter. That's not good. I probably should have remembered the name. I'll put the name to it in the description, y'all. But it's on Amazon Prime and it talks about like the rise and the fall of Lisa Frank. And so there's the when it first started out, it talked about like her like the way that she like got the company started and the like the vision that she had for it. And if I'm being honest with y'all, like that whole first episode of the documentary of the docuseries, it had me feeling so like inspired as a creative entrepreneur. And I know that like I knew it was going to start getting, a little I knew it was going to start going downhill after that first episode, but like they got to like, they got to set it up and they got to set the groundwork. All through this era, yeah, they had to set the groundwork for it. And so watching how like Lisa Frank started out like strictly as like a sticker company, and they were doing like these stickers, and the stickers were getting popular, they were gaining traction, and that was like how she became known. And so the thing that was so cool is that Lisa Frank, it she had the vision, and like when people talked about her, they described her as like being like a kid at heart, which to me like just speaks to like the creator in me, because that's one of the things that as a creator it makes you like it's like it's who you are. Like that's one of the things that makes us appealing is like our youthfulness and like our optimism and our ability to like really like use our imagination and dream about things, and like just sometimes it can be childlike, but not in a way where it's like childish, but it's more like anything is possible kind of energy. Like that's what a creator gives. And so I'm sitting here and I'm listening to how they described her and how she would like mix her prints with her outfits, and she had this really quirky, just like fun, eclectic style. I was like, that is me. Like that is me. I love like I was loving hearing it, and I could relate to so many of those like sentiments. Hey Colette. So I was like, I already knew it was gonna be really hard to hear like who she was for real. But we're just gonna keep on going. Okay. So like this is how it starts off. And so Lisa Frank really started to pop off when she met her it was he was gonna be her husband in the future, but he at this point he was her artist, like her lead artist. And so one of the things about Lisa Frank that I did not know, which this myth was kind of busted. Oh, yes, Stephanie, this documentary. Oh my goodness. So one of the myths that was busted is that Lisa was not the artist. Like she was not the one that actually designed the artwork. So even from the beginning, Lisa always worked with artists. Like she always had people who she would tell them the ideas, and she would then like ask them to execute it. So like in its most healthy form, it was a collaboration. But as you'll see as I start talking about this documentary more, it was not a healthy collaboration. Yeah, yeah, that Kayla's saying that was a huge shock to her. Yeah, the fact that she wasn't the one, like she wasn't the one that created it, it was like, "Wait, what?" Like, these are just, like, her ideas, which it still makes her a creative person, but it just was surprising to me that not like, she really didn't execute any of the actual artwork. So, yeah, she operated as an art director. And so, Lisa Frank really started to pop off when her lead, artist started working with her. She found him. He was like all the way up in Detroit. He drove all the way down to Tucson. Thank you, Colette. All the way down to Tucson for this position that she was advertising to be the lead. And so when James came in, thank you, Mask. When James came in, he was like, we gotta overhaul all of this stuff. Okay. And this is how James described it. Lisa did not choose to participate in the documentary, so we don't hear her side of any of this, okay? This is all everybody in the documentary was either employees, James, which was her her lead artist, and then in the future her husband, and then the people that she collaborated with like further down the line, which I'll talk about too, because there's two businesses in particular. One was a business and one was an influencer that she like really played in their face, y'all. Like, oh my goodness, she really played in their face. So, but we're gonna get to them. We're gonna get to them as we progress. So James comes in and he's like, stickers ain't doing it. Like stickers is not it. It's not cutting it. We need to get into something that is going to really last, right? This is me paraphrasing. And so that is how the Lisa Frank stationery came to be. So like he positioned Lisa Frank in a way where it was now competing in a space where there really wasn't any competition. So like up until this point, like back to school stuff, like the notebooks and the folders and the planners and the trapper keepers, all of that stuff was like super regular, super plain, super like simple, right? And so Lisa Frank was like that brand that stood out. Like it popped out. It was its own thing. Like it was different. You knew Lisa Frank. Like even now, if somebody does a design like this, it's you're gonna say, "Oh, that's like that looks like Lisa Frank-esque." Like you attribute it to Lisa Frank. And so she kind of created like a space all her own in this market. And so it became really popular with girls when they position themselves to not just be a sticker company, but to be, to put the art in different things. Thank you, Steph. So it started to really blow up. Yeah, she created her own aesthetic. Yeah. Well, the company together, they created the aesthetic, which is very interesting, y'all, because one of the things that all of her employees, especially the early employees, will say is that she was very instrumental and very vocal about how like what she wanted her these creations to look like. So she would come in and she would have like these ideas, which is like what a visionary does. Like when you're directing, it's not that it's all about your vision, because you have the people who are like executing it and putting their own spin on it, right? But she has this idea. She comes up with these visions. And so she was like, one of the examples that they gave is like, she was like, I want something with an umbrella. She was like, I see something with an umbrella. And the person, one of her artists, was like, oh, I had this idea to turn a watermelon into an umbrella. And so it was like, I think it was like raining like watermelon juice and like the outside of the watermelon ended up being the umbrella, right? And so it's like she would come up with these ideas, and then the artist and the designers would then execute, and then the best ones would be chosen, right? It's like that's kind of how it works when it comes to the art world and commerce. So they're creating these like super just like fun and creative and imaginative ideas. The company's starting to go really really well, and it's taken off further than she could have ever imagined, right? And so one of the things that I thought was interesting, this is like one of the first things where I started to feel like I could relate to her in a certain way, because at when she started really getting popular, like they had Lisa Frank stores, and they were getting into things further than stationery. Like Lisa Frank was becoming a whole movement. And there was a point in time where Trump had to file for bankruptcy, and that's when he lost like, well, I don't know what he lost, y'all. I wasn't paying attention to Trump. I'm not even gonna try to pretend like I know what it was, but Trump filed for bankruptcy. Okay. And she saw that, and it freaked her out. She was like, she started to panic because she was like, I like, if something like that could happen to him after all that he's built, like what could happen to me? Yes, the brick and mortar. What would happen to me once I get to this level? Like I'm all the way up here. Like, but what might happen if like something like just like makes me completely fall, right? Which is kind of ironic because she basically like predicted her own downfall. It was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so, and of course, like you can't know that in the moment, but I thought that it was very interesting. It's like interesting how fear how fear can end up being the predictor of what will happen. Like you can basically like choose your own fate to an extent. And I thought about how I felt like that so many different times. And not to say that I haven't reached like Lisa Frank status yet, okay? Yet. But I do think about how easy it is to be concerned about losing what you do have, and how you can start to move that way, right? And so it was, and I could understand that fear, especially when you are seeing these people who are building the things of their dreams, and you see them getting like these like unimaginable opportunities and getting to these different heights, and then seeing how certain things, certain decisions ended up being their demise. And again, this is all kind of like foreshadowing to what I'm gonna talk about with the businesses that she played with. Okay. Cause I was starting to kind of feel some of that fear as they were talking. So just that's your warning now. And so I could relate to those feelings of, what if I lose what I get? And it's funny because like you cannot even have that much and still be trying to hold on to the little that you got, and operating with that fear. But how like all of like that mentality kind of shaped the way that her company then started to progress in the future. Yo, she played all up in their face. Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is true, Stephanie. And so it's like it's interesting. That's actually a good point though. So Stephanie said that it's crazy because the wealthy use bankruptcy as a tool. And I think that that's like a really interesting point to bring up, because I feel like we can also see things happening to people, and we can see parallels and similarities, but because we are like looking at other people's lives as a predictor of what's going to happen for ours, we forget that there are different circumstances and different things at play that makes this true for one person, but it doesn't mean that it's true for us. And so it can even become more detrimental because now we're comparing and we're looking at, okay, well, they did this and that didn't work for them, so maybe I shouldn't go that way, maybe I shouldn't do this. And so now we're even trying to change who we are and shape and mold our future and try to be in control of things to our own detriment. So I'm so glad you said that. Like, it really can be so dangerous to compare ourselves. And that's actually making me feel good because listen to, like, when I tell y'all the stories of these people, I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is terrible. I'm smiling, but it's because it's really like it's horrible. Like, I don't even know how else to describe it. So that ended up being the predictor. It ended up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy that she started freaking out about losing everything that she had amassed, right? So we're moving forward. Oh, that's good, Kayla. I'm gonna repeat that in a second. We're moving forward, and Lisa Frank is still doing well, right? Like it's still good. The company is like is expanding into all these different retailers. They're expanding into all these different products. Like Lisa Frank is becoming like not just a product, but it's like a whole like brand. It's like a whole world. Like Lisa Frank created a world where like the things that you imagine are possible. Like there's happiness, there's joy, there's this space where you can just like get outside of the boxes of reality and live in this different place. And I know that that sounds like lofty when it comes to like the fact that they're like binders and coloring books, but when you think about the effect that Lisa Frank has and still has, you can't deny or downplay the power that art has and what it can make you feel, which is what has made it last as long as it did. And so to to even think about how like things start to play out in the future, and as I start to tell y'all some of these people's story, hey Cap, when I start to tell y'all some of these people's stories, I really want y'all to keep that in mind, okay? Like keep in mind that that people weren't just buying into Lisa Frank, right, as a person, because in reality most people didn't really know her. She was a very private person, very private, very mysterious, very to herself. So people didn't really know Lisa Frank, but they knew the brand, right? They knew what she created. They knew that feeling. They knew what her products made them feel, and so it also shaped the way that people thought about her and the reason why some of them, stayed around as long as they did, why they did certain things to try to please her and to make her happy, why they compromised and ignored certain red flags. Like I want y'all to keep all this in mind because as powerful as art is, it can also lead us to do some, interesting things when we put people in a certain place in our minds. So, yeah, the product, yeah, yeah, it's a lot, and it that's something I'm gonna talk about too. Like how do you navigate when you have this like strong connection and association with a brand and then you realize that the leader is trash? Like what do you do? How do you navigate that and reconcile that? Yeah, her designs are straight out of someone's imagination and it's beautiful to see. Yeah. Yeah. What was her product? Well, Lisa Frank, she was most known for her stationery, like her back to school products. So like the binders, the notebooks, the folders, things like that. But it grew into something even bigger. But yeah, so let's keep on going. So at this point, like Lisa Frank is becoming this huge thing, and after a certain amount of years, remember I told y'all that she brought in James, which was her lead artist, right? And so the thing that's interesting about this man James, okay, is that James was James was responsible for a lot of what you attribute Lisa Frank to be creatively, right? So he's the one that created the logo. He's the one who was responsible for a lot of the marketing and the way that Lisa Frank was positioned in the marketplace. And so, and he had a very particular vision for how he felt like Lisa Frank should go, right? And the thing that's interesting about that is that as he started to become more and more vocal about what he felt like Lisa Frank should be, the less involved it appeared that Lisa Frank herself actually was in. Yeah, he made her vision viable. He made it long term. He made it sustainable. He helped make it iconic. Like you can't deny the impact that he had on it. And so he was very involved, very instrumental. However, he was described as by the employees as somebody who was very controlling, and like he was one of them people that you really wanted to work hard to impress, and that he really wasn't a people person. Like as far as managing people goes, that was not his strong suit. It was not his strong suit. And it made me think about how with the creator brand personality or the creator brand archetype, y'all remember how I was telling you that one of the things that is a challenge for the creator is having like essentially it's like a lack of empathy. And it can be an either a lack of empathy or like an insensitivity to the plight of others. And as I was looking at how like he was being described as a genius, and like he had this amazing vision, but he also had horrible relationships with the employees. Like, and even when you listen to him talk, because he was actually a part of the interview, as I was listening to him talk, like I could hear how he really wasn't connecting with the way that people described him. It was almost like there was like a disconnect between how he was being perceived and how he saw himself. And so like people would describe him in certain ways, like he would be like very like controlling, or he could be they didn't use the word condescending, but almost like intimidating, right? And then when he heard these, he was like, that's ridiculous. I don't even understand what they're talking about. It doesn't sound like me. That's not who I am. There was one thing someone mentioned about him flipping over the table, and that like it was like a table where they had like all like their artwork and their designs like on the table, and he flipped it over. And so the interviewer for the documentary, she asked him like, "So did you have a temper?" And he was like, "No, I don't have a temper. I do not have a temper. I don't have a temper." And so she was like, "Okay, you don't have a temper. Have you ever flipped over like a design table or a creative table?" And he was like, "Maybe I did. Like especially if the designs were bad. Like if it was he called it horse crap. He's like, if it was horse crap on the table, I probably definitely did turn it over, and I'm glad that I did it." What? So y'all like do y'all like it's such a huge it's such a huge disconnect. Like it like if we are describing like the strengths as light and the challenges as the shadows, like my guy lived in the shadows, okay? Like he lived in the shadows. And it was like almost kind of like it was interesting to me because it almost felt like he did it as a way to kind of like protect himself. Like maybe like he struggled with that connection. Like I'm not diagnosing him with anything, but this is just like a theory that I have that it's become something that he just like doubles down on because that's already how he's been described anyway. And so Yeah, I had a hard time believing he made the Lisa Frank stuff. His personality did not match. Yeah, his personality didn't match it. But like there's so many accounts from people that's like, nah, like he's really that guy. And so when it comes to the design, he's really that guy. When it comes to being a kind person, he's not. It's like that's not him. So it was very interesting, and I was like, it was cool though to see both sides, because there is like this duality for any brand personality, but especially like because we're talking about the creator right now. And with the creator brand personality, there are, as beautiful as what we create can be, like as beautiful as our expressions of creativity are, there are those sides of us that we have to be aware of. And one of those is like the insensitivity to the plight of others, like our how our control how we can be controlling at times, how our visions and what we believe should happen doesn't always leave room for others' creativity. How we can be so wrapped up in our worlds that we're not paying attention to or sensitive to how that is impacting others. And it doesn't make us bad people, but it is just the truth of the matter that there, with all of our strengths, there are also challenges. And so it can be challenging to navigate it when you see someone who is so good at what they do, but they're also not they don't work well with others. Like it is like, yeah, they created a very toxic work environment for people. And that's going to lead me to the next point that I want to talk about, which is the employees, the artists that were there. So yeah, let's get into this. I'm late. What's the Lisa Frank tea? Lisa Frank, there's a documentary on Amazon Prime. So if y'all haven't seen it and you love Lisa Frank, I would highly recommend watching it. It is a very, very good documentary. If you are a creative person at all, like I would highly recommend watching this. If you're a creative entrepreneur, watch this documentary. Okay, watch this docu-series rather, because there are so many lessons to glean from it. There are so many things about it that can be inspiring, even though the story is tragic at some points. And it's one of those things that um it just impacted me a little bit differently. Yeah. So okay, I see some people have seen it. What did y'all think about the documentary? Yeah. So yeah, definitely add it to your watch list. All right. So that's what we're talking about. So right now we're still on the first episode of the docu-series, and we're about to start getting into her how the Lisa Frank brand, how the company started to impact its employees. Okay. So as a person who went to school for fashion design, I went to college for fashion design. I was particularly triggered by this. I was particularly triggered by this because one of the things that is very challenging when it comes to being graded on something that is as objective, not objective, subjective as art, it is very difficult. And so some of the experiences that I had with college is that like we learned a lot of the technical things, right? Um, and as much as our teachers made sure that they didn't impose their ideas on us, right? Like they didn't impose too much on our creativity, it was still a very competitive environment. And when you add in elements of race, um and certain perspectives that are not understood from your teachers, the lack of representation of people that look like you, y'all see where I'm going with this. And then you couple that with the um the then like feedback and critiques from those people, it was a very challenging environment to be in and feel confident in your vision. Okay. It was extremely, extremely difficult to feel confident in your vision, which when it comes to a creative person, like there is a level of delusion that you got to have because as a creative, you are also very likely a visionary and you are a trendsetter. And the things and the ideas that you come up with are things that everybody is not going to get. Like they're not going to always agree with it, right? And so there are some things that you absolutely have to be open and able to collaborate and work with people. But there's also an individual element to it where you have to stand 10 toes down on certain ideas and certain concepts. So I say all of that to say that I was very I think I was not I won't say I was most saddened by it, but it was actually I probably will say this. I was most upset by the way the environment, the work culture was at Lisa Frank and the impact that it had on the artists that worked for her. Um I told y'all that she was very instrumental and she had all of these ideas that she would want people to execute, right? And then we talked about James and how James had a very strong grasp on what he wanted Lisa Frank to look like. And there was not a lot of room or space for other people's ideas in that vision. So a lot of the artists were basically working to please James or to please Lisa. And there was like they would describe how like sometimes he would come into the room and he would just stare. Like he would just stare and he would just like look around the room. And he was like, one of the employees was like, if he made eye contact with you, and he like made like a face at you, then it was like instantly like your heart dropped to your stomach because you're like, what's going to happen next? And they had this HR woman that was they called her the enforcer, and she talked about how she fired so many people in her 20 years working there that she couldn't even like keep track of she couldn't even give a number, like she couldn't even give an estimate. She was like, it could be hundreds of people that she had fired over her time working there. And there would be like this, the way that it was described by the employees, there would be like this level of like wanting to please people and then also intimidating them at the same time, or being intimidated by them. And so to me, especially when I think about like somebody coming down from their office. You didn't send it down from your office, and you didn't came into the studio, and you just come and then you just stare around the room. You just look around the room. I'm crossing my arms. I don't know if you cross his arms or not, but like you just like stare across the room, and then you just like make eye contact with me, and then you scowl, and then walk out, and then 30 minutes later, I get a call to HR. And now I'm over here panicking because I'm like, did I just lose my job because we made eye contact? Like, are you for real? It was so I could relate to that fear. Like the idea that you were working in a place that was so that felt like so high stakes, but what you were putting out made so many girls so happy. Like it was like the dissonance was just like messing with me, y'all. I don't know how I would be able to reconcile that. Like I'm over here creating like some of the most imaginative, some of the most exciting stuff, some of the stuff that like I'm so proud of. And then like I have this boss that's just gonna like dunk on it and then also fire me because like why would you do that? There was one person. Thank you, Jazzy. There was one person that was talking about his experience, and how there was this time where he thought he was going to get fired. He was like, I was so scared. He's like, I was so scared. I thought I was going to get fired. And he ended up going into the woman's office that they called the enforcer, and she told him that something that he had created or drawn was like he was on his last straw. Basically, she was like, if you submit another piece of artwork like this, you're going to lose your job, right? And so he left relieved because he was like, I live to see another day. And I'm like, that is horrible. Like, how do you work under those conditions? And so one of the things that he drew was there was this it was like a panda. It was either yeah, I think it was a panda, and the panda was like on a cloud, and it was an angel. And he was like, "Why are you?" The James was like, "Why are so this is what we do now? We draw unalived animals." He dunked on that angel so hard, like an angel panda, an angel panda. Oh my goodness! I was like, "No, that's I cannot, cannot. Mm-mm. I couldn't, I just couldn't even imagine." And so there was another employee that he was having ideations of unaliving himself. He was like, he felt so he felt so inadequate and so irrelevant that he was considering taking himself out. And he said that the only reason why he didn't is because that's what happened to his brother. And he didn't want to put his mom through that again. But he was like, I was literally thinking that if I wasn't here anymore, one day on his way home from work, if I wasn't here anymore, my kids, I mean, they would be sad, but they would figure it out. You know, my wife could finally move on and find herself somebody better, and she wouldn't have to be tied down by me. Like your workplace attributed to your feelings of worthlessness, that to me was, yo, that was horrendous. And again, you're listening to so many people who are talking about these experiences, and they're having similar experiences. They're having similar thoughts, and similar accounts of what it was like working there. And then you have somebody like James, because again, Lisa opted out, but I honestly wish that Lisa kind of would have like owned up to her part in this, and said something, because even though James still acted like he just couldn't understand what was so terrible about working there, and he couldn't understand what he was doing to contribute to it. Um, you can't deny how so many people felt working in a company that you were the CEO of, right? And when they got married, when him and Lisa got married, he owned 49% of the shares. So this is your company too. You know, like you can't just be like, that's not on me, and I didn't contribute to that, and that's not who I am. All of the things that he was saying, as much as he denied it, because he really didn't own up to any of it, as much as he denied it, I was like, nah. I feel like I feel like they're true. I feel like these accounts are true. Like, and as much as he could try to say like, no, that didn't happen, it was just too many employees who were willing to step up and talk about it. And all of these different accounts, is there's similarities. Okay, there's commonalities in it. And so they go on to describe just how up and down it was, how toxic it was, how they really like day to day, like you just really didn't know what to expect. There was, yeah, there was someone who actually passed away at on the job. Like they passed away on the job. They passed away on the job, and they had a he had a heart attack, and he was like they were working like these super long hours. Sometimes they were like on the average they would work about 12 hours a day. And this man ended up having a heart attack, and they were not able to revive him. Still at the workplace, like at his desk, just fell. And after all of that, they didn't have any counseling. Like it was like business as usual. And James was like, yeah, at the time, like I didn't even think about counseling. Like that wasn't even a thought in my mind. And I'm just sitting here like, someone passed away at your company, and you didn't think that nothing needed to happen, nothing needed to change. What? Like people were working next to, they witnessed this. Like it was like so baffling to me that it just didn't lead to like nothing happened. It was like nothing was clicking. I was like it was really like disturbing for me, right? To just like watch him talk about it with so much like apathy, because it just really didn't seem like he had any feelings about it, any real feelings towards it. So there was another account. This is the last one that I'm gonna share, the last story I'm gonna share about the employees. Health wise, anyway, there was an employee that was diabetic, and he there was a particular instance where they were asked to work a super long day. Like I think it was maybe like working like 16 hours, right? And he was saying that because he is diabetic, he can't work past dinner. Like he's like, I can't just like not eat dinner. I got to eat my meals regularly because it's a matter of, you know, my life on the line. Like I can't just skip meals. I can't stay longer. And after that day, after he refused to stay longer, he was let go. And when they asked, was he let go because he couldn't stay later, even though he had health reasons why he couldn't, they said no. But then they also said that refusing to work longer hours or refusing to work the hours that they asked you was grounds to be fired. Please be for real. I'm just sitting here listening to this and I'm like, wow, I didn't think it was possible for this to get worse. I did not think it was possible, but clearly, like clearly, it can. It can. And so there were the one of the most disturbing things that I heard from the HR woman that they called the enforcer. One of the things that she said was that which is so interesting because okay, I'm gonna tell y'all what she said, then I'm gonna tell y'all why it's interesting. So one of the things that she said was that it wasn't that if you were willing to put in the extra hours, right? Like if you're willing to work super hard, if you're willing to like really like put your ideas out there, and if you basically like made your life about Lisa Frank, then you were more likely to succeed there, right? Which is a huge red flag for any workplace, because your life does not revolve around anybody's company. Even if you're running your own business, you still have a life outside of your business. Like I am not obligated to give anyone anything past the hours that are contractually obligated. And then even then, there are certain things in place that will allow me to take time off, or to not work certain hours, or to have certain accommodations. Like those are things that you should naturally expect, right? But one of the things about her saying that, and saying it in a way where it was almost kind of like defending what she did. And it was interesting to me because towards the end of the docuseries, she also stated that she regrets working there. She regrets ever working there. So was which I did justified, or was it not? Because not only did you contribute to a toxic work environment that caused so many people to question their capabilities, to question their literal lives, to lose their lives, you contributed to that, being a part of that company and doing what you did, to then also say that you regret it. And there are hundreds of employees, former employees, who now, like, real life hate you. Like, so many people do not like you. And she even has current health problems associated to her time working there, because she worked there for like 20 years. But then to turn around and to turn, like, to defend it, and to turn around and say I regret it, it was just a weird move to me. And I was having a hard time. I won't lie, y'all. I was having a hard time empathizing with her, because she was really she had her part to play, but she was really like the middleman for Lisa and James, right? Like they would tell her who they didn't want, and then she would be responsible for enforcing it, which is why they called her the enforcer. And to a certain extent, like there's nothing wrong with being the middleman. It's just the fact that there were so many things that were unhealthy and toxic in this workplace that you help perpetuate it. And so it was so disheartening to hear it. There was one employee who was like, he just stopped art altogether. He was like, he does it now, for fun every now and again, but he doesn't even do that anymore. He works in construction. There was another guy, he was like, graphic design used to be his life, and now he doesn't even own a computer. Like that's how done he is with art. There's another woman, and she paints this picture of like herself in a box. Oh, are you having a hard time finding me? If you click on my link, James, then you can find it. You can find my YouTube and go straight to it. There's one, she drew a picture of herself in this box, and she was kind of like, like folded over a little bit, and the box was like lined with stone, and the outside it's like this outside world, and she was like, this is how I felt as an artist working for Lisa Frank. I felt like I was in this box and the world was all around me, and how ironic it was, because the Lisa Frank brand was all about breaking out of the box, being out of the box, being imaginative, dreaming big, going big. And the people that work for your company don't feel like that. I think that like that artwork, it really did stand out to me. Um, and one of these days, I'm going to talk about just like not feeling like enough, not feeling good enough, not feeling like you're enough, not feeling like your perspective is valid or appreciated or acknowledged as an artist, as a creative, because I could I could I can't even imagine working somewhere where you finally get to do your art and get paid for it, and for that space that you're working in to be so oppressive, like for it to be so limiting and controlling and demeaning that you don't even see your value as an artist anymore outside of what the person who you work for and admire deems worthy. That is wild to me. Like that is so wild. And that is such a huge affront to the people that are there that are helping to build this brand that you have. And so I think that like the biggest takeaway from that, because I said a lot on that part. I clearly I feel I have very strong feelings about workplace conditions. I have very strong feelings about human trafficking, slave labor, like things like that. And not saying that this is necessarily slave labor, but even the amount of money that people were getting paid was nowhere near comparable to the hours that they were working. And like that's a whole other thing in and of itself. Like that could be a whole video by itself. So I have very strong feelings about the way that people are treated, especially in the workplace. And so what one of the biggest things that I would say as a takeaway from that whole section and what the employees have to say is that as you are building your brand, as you are growing and expanding, and as you are starting to bring other people into your vision, I want you to be mindful, and I not even just be mindful, but I want you to make it a priority to create a culture that embodies what it is that you are telling the world that it is. Like if the way that your brand is being perceived is not the experience of your employees, of the people that are literally helping you to build this brand, you need to shut some stuff down and you need to go back to the drawing board, because to treat people who have literally helped to establish this iconic brand, to treat them the way that you did with so much disregard is unacceptable. Like it's completely unacceptable. And not to say that I think that like for most of us, like we would look at this and we would be like, that would never be me. I could never do that. Like I would never treat people that way. I think that that is too easy to write it off, because I'm not saying that you are um at risk of creating a place that was as toxic as that. But what I want y'all to like pick up on and see the correlation is how her fears literally dictated the culture of her company. The things that she was insecure about, the things that she was worried about, even James being as controlling as he was, that's a character flaw that impacted hundreds of people's lives to the point that some of them no longer wanted to be alive. Like that if nothing else highlights the importance of doing the work on yourself and learning how to be healthy, how to navigate your triggers, how to navigate your fears, how to actually collaborate with people and work with people, like thinking about how your actions and what you do impacts people, really being mindful of that and consistently doing inventory on what that looks like and consistently doing that work. Like that is something that we're never not doing that work. Like we're never not improving or evolving, or at least have the opportunity to. And so I just think about how her fears literally like ruined people's lives. That sounds so dramatic, but like it's real life. Like it really did impact and ruin people's lives. So we've talked about the employees. We've talked about how Lisa Frank came to be. All right. So now we're about to talk about, hey Tiffany, we're about to talk about how she played in these people's face, y'all. Are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for this story? This is the part that I was telling y'all that it really had me it had me feeling all kinds of feelings, okay? So, yeah, it just is. I don't even know if it just like recently came out or what, but yeah, if you saw the documentary, then you already know where I'm going with this. So, let's start with the first company, okay? So this first company, what was it called? What were they called? Glamour Dolls. I think that's the name. Glamour Dolls. um they were a they were a makeup company that was really like catered towards like the teen girls, young girls, to like young women, right? And so they were starting to like really pop off and get bigger. I think they were based in New Jersey, and so the company was starting to like gain some traction, right? And so there were two people that ran the company, a man and a woman. And the woman like grew up loving Lisa Frank, right? Like she was like, I love Lisa Frank. She's so iconic to me. And I want to do a collaboration with her, right? So this is 2019. Yeah, 2019. No, 2017. Sorry, 2017. Glamour Glamour Dolls is popping off, and now they want to do this collaboration with Lisa Frank. So they finally get in contact with Lisa Frank and they talk about this collaboration, and Lisa Frank is like, "Yeah, let's do it. Like, it's a go." And so they have this contract with her to like, license the artwork and what that was going to look like, right? And so they had to pay her how much upfront? I can't remember. I think it was like 25,000 upfront, $100,000 total, in order to license her artwork and to do this collaboration. So, in order to raise the funds for this collaboration, they launch a Kickstarter. And Kickstarter, they were so excited about this collaboration that they met with them personally. So the two owners of Glamour Dolls, Lisa Frank, they pull up to Kickstarter headquarters and they have this whole like kickoff meeting, powwow, whatever, to talk about what it was going to look like to launch this Kickstarter campaign. So the Kickstarter campaign goes live. They have this influencer announce the Kickstarter, and it goes viral. Like 24 hours, everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, Lisa Frank is coming out with makeup. Like this is not a drill, okay? It's not a drill. Let's hurry up. Let's go find this. Let's go, sign up for this Kickstarter, give our little couple dollars so that we can get this merchandise from her, this the cosmetics." So they launched the Kickstarter around February. And then throughout the year, people are starting to wonder like what's going on. Like we haven't got our products yet. No, at this point, her and her husband, they got divorced. She wanted him to not get his half. She wanted him to give his half back. I didn't even talk about that part, but nah, they had been divorced. Like it was all like the controversy had already like settled down. We have gone maybe about 10 years in between the divorce and this collaboration that she's doing with Glamour Dolls. And so at this point, it's important to mention that Lisa Frank had kind of died down. And by kind of, it like really died down. The factory was like desolate, like it looked like a zombie town. It was her products weren't being created anymore. Like Walmart, all them deals, they dried up. So it wasn't a thing no more. So she was really kind of like hurting at this point, like the brand was. But the thing that was keeping her going was all of the adults that were young girls who love Lisa Frank, and we love the nostalgia of her. So we're the ones that was like basically like keeping it alive. So the months go by and people are starting to notice that, look, y'all ain't sent not one lip gloss, not one eyeshadow. I ain't seen not one makeup bag. Like, y'all haven't sent us any of the stuff that y'all promised us from this Kickstarter campaign. Because when you do a Kickstarter, most tiers have products that are promised to you. So the companies that do them are obligated to fulfill those contracts and to also keep you in the loop about what's going on, because you've already given your money to them at this point. So they were slated to send out all the products by September of that year. But throughout the year, they kept having these back and forths with Lisa Frank, who was basically saying that she didn't like anything. Like she didn't like, she wanted the bag to be different, so she kept giving all these different like edits for the bags. And then when they gave her the final thing that she said that she wanted, she was like, no, I hate it, let's scrap it all and start it all over. So they could never come to an agreement on what the products were going to look like. So that kept delaying the production time, right? So she does this for a full calendar year. Yes, but still pay me. But this is the part that's not even the worst, y'all. So they've been paying this woman all year for products that have never come out. The people who gave the money to the Kickstarter campaign do not have their money back. They do not have their products. We are now a full year. And now, in order to get the products out, they have to renegotiate this licensing contract with her. And now, instead of it being $100,000, she says, now I want y'all to pay me $500,000. 500,000. She wants this money quarterly, in quarterly installments. And she said, y'all gonna pay me these installments on time. Yeah, it was absolutely not in their favor. And I think the thing that I feel like I really wish that they would have done differently, um, is that, like, when they started to notice that things weren't right with her, because the one of the owners, remember I told you I was a man and a woman. One of the things that she said is like she noticed some red flags even in the beginning of it. She was doing so much. They were both doing so much to try to please her. And that ended up contributing to the downfall of their business. And so they like and their biggest fear, which is why they back down for all of her demands, is that they were afraid that she was going to pull out. And at this point, it had become such a big thing, right? And so remember in the beginning of this live, I told y'all like to keep in mind that what Lisa Frank meant to people, and how iconic, and how for so many people she's an idol, that that was informing a lot of the decisions that people were making to stay longer than they should have, to endure the treatment that they did, to stay in a business agreement with her when it didn't benefit you at all, really, because you didn't even get to create the products that you designed. And so a lot of those things were informing their decision making. So this whole year goes by. They're not getting any products. People now are over glamour dolls. They're calling them scammer dolls now. Like it got bad. Scammer dolls actually was very funny. I would not be surprised if a black person came up with that. Calling them scammer dolls was crazy. But they like their brand was completely like it was gone now. It was done. Like no one trusted them. And no one knew the intimate details about the brand deal and why it was going the way that it was and why people weren't getting products. Nobody knew why. They just knew the glamour dolls was now scammers and they didn't want no parts of it. And they still have to pay her this money because they got this contract. Yeah. And that's the thing that's so interesting is that before this deal with Lisa Frank, they were gaining popularity. So it just was so interesting. And I think like again, like this is like one of them things where I feel like it's like a lesson that you can take away from it is that you felt like you needed Lisa Frank in order to be successful when you were already on the rise without her. And in fact, your idea to collaborate with her made her relevant again. Like and like the not seeing the value and what you bring to the table, even though I really don't like that phrase, but like, we're talking about brand, we're talking about business, so I'll say it. What you like not acknowledging what you bring to the table really can have not only like financial implications, but it can also literally affect the trajectory of your brand. Like like it's done. It's done. Yes, like and Stephanie said it earlier. They did not see themselves as equal partners. They saw Lisa Frank as this, you know, god, and they were just like unworthy and oh my goodness, I cannot believe that she collaborated with us. What was Lisa Frank even doing at that point? In 2017, what was she doing? Like that's just the so anyway, they end up paying her close to by the end when it's all said and done, no products go out. They done paid her close to $800,000. And she just got that money. She just got that money. Yeah. Lisa the scammer. Lisa Frank the scammer. Sitting on close to $1 million for doing nothing but ruining somebody else's brand. You got paid to ruin somebody else's brand. Like that's just oh my goodness. Ooh, it makes me mad just thinking about it. I cannot believe it. And then like to add like some extra like salt in the wound, then a few years later, Morphe, the beauty brand, the cosmetic brand, did a collaboration with Lisa Frank, and one of their products was like almost like literally identical to the product that Glamour Dolls created for their collaboration. Like bar for bar. The only thing that was different is that Morphe's eyeshadow palette was bigger. Oh my goodness, y'all. Oh my goodness. Like it's just ooh. When I was watching, I was getting so heated. Like it felt like my money. And like each time, because but keep in mind, like they're still a small business. So they're doing all this fundraising, all this scraping and bringing stuff together to pay her this licensing fee. And one of the things that I really was thinking about that was wild is that y'all scrapped together $800,000. $800,000 to give to somebody else. Like you have the capability to get that much funding, and it all went to a woman who ruined your business. Like that was just like that was messing me up. Just the fact that you had the capability to raise that much money, like it really showed you what you were capable of, and it all went to the wrong person. Yeah, yeah, like the man, man, it would literally make me sick. It would have literally made me sick. So, Yeah, so they're still like and there's still like a trial set because they're suing her. And funny thing is she's suing them back. So like there's some legal things going on between the two of them that are still like ongoing. They're really trying to get the money back from the Kickstarter campaign. That's what they say. So I don't know how that's gonna go. I don't know how that's gonna go. I'm not even gonna speak on it because I'm like the furthest thing from a lawyer. But yeah, this is on Amazon Prime. Okay. Amazon Prime. I do not remember the exact name of it, but yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime, then you don't have to pay anything extra for it. I don't know if you don't have Prime, how much it would cost, but it's currently just on Prime right now. It's a Prime. I think it's a Prime original actually. So yeah. All right, y'all, the last person, okay, and I saved her for last because this one particularly like made me want to pull up on Lisa myself. Like after this one, I personally wanted to go and head on down to Tucson and have some words with Lisa because you really done crossed the line now. You laughing, Tiffany. I am not joking. I'm not joking. Like I told y'all, there's a couple of things that really will get me out of character, and like taking advantage of creators, taking advantage of people who. Oh, let me just tell y'all a story. Let me just tell y'all a story. Okay, so the last person is a yes. It got me so heated. The last person is a she is an influencer, and I'm about to look up her name now because I had never seen this creator before, but she is a black creator, and she is the person, Kayla, that I was saying that reminded me of you. Hold on, Lisa. Deals. I'm about to look it up now. Give me a second. Okay. I found her. So she identifies as an independent artist. Amina, Amina, I think it's Mucciolo, but her nickname is Cloudland. And so she had this room, the search terms, which she had this aesthetic that she was known for. And she had this rainbow unicorn house in LA that she decorated. It was like her apartment. She decorated her apartment. And so she became popular for like basically letting like her inner child just like be free. And so she painted her house like all these different like rainbow colors. Like the cabinets in her kitchen, each cabinet was a different color. She had all of these like plushies and animals up at the top of her at the top of like one of her cabinets. She has this giant floral wall that she designed herself, and so she ended up becoming really popular for her decor. So she was in IKEA, she was in another magazine, she was on you what's it, the Today Show. Like she's been featured in like a lot of publications. And so at this point in time, she was really blowing up, right? She was really getting popular. So she started to notice that Lisa Frank's account started interacting with her. So they would leave comments on her post, and they would DM her talking about how inspirational she is. Like they were really like watching her, right? And on the surface, it just looked like, they were just engaging and just like really admired her. And so she didn't brush it off, but she just kind of took it as like one of my childhood favorites, one of my favorite artists is noticing me. Like that's dope, right? And so she says that all of a sudden the communication stops. right? Like she stops communicating, the account stops communicating with her. Yeah, admire in quotations. And all of a sudden there's this new hotel room, this Lisa Frank hotel room that pops up, right? And they said that they advertised it and said that it's going, you can stay in the Lisa Frank room for like $199 a night. And when you look at the pictures of this hotel room, it looks like Lisa Frank, right? But the way that they designed it is almost bar for bar the way that Cloudland, Amina, designed her apartment. And now all of a sudden, they're not communicating with her because they stole her idea. And the thing that really like pisses me off about this whole concept is that it is so easy to say that the idea wasn't stolen by people. Like it's very easy for people to write it off. She was even saying that there were some people in the beginning, people were reaching out to her and saying, "Oh, I know you designed this, right? Like this has to be you. This got your name written all over it." And then after a while, people started saying, "Oh, well, did Lisa Frank really copy off of you, or or did you get your whole aesthetic from Lisa Frank?" Or this cabinet is blue and your cabinet is pink right here, so this isn't really your idea, right? And I this is one of the things that I hate because it is so easy, especially when you have the name, when you have the budget, and when you have the color on your side, okay? Because I feel like that definitely played a part in it. When you got the skin color on your side, then you can get away with so much more, and it's so easy to then discredit the person who this work was stolen from. And the thing that makes me really like the thing that like really makes like the thing that really makes my butt itch about this is that it could have been so easy to just collaborate with her. Why was that so hard to do? Why is that never an idea? I got this idea from you. You inspired this. Why would it have been so hard to collaborate? Why did it have to be your idea? And then to gaslight her into making her feel like y'all didn't just take this idea from her. And the part that really made it wild, y'all, is that this hotel was across the street from where she lived. It was across the street. And it was also owned by the people who owned her apartment building. And she said that at this point in time, she was already struggling to pay her bills and keep up with her rent, right? And so they forced her out. They told her go ahead and go, literally like right before the room went live. The hotel room went live. And so she said that after that happened, she just didn't feel like herself for a long time. And it makes me so furious to see someone's joy and creativity and the way that they inspire people to just be snuffed out like that. And it also bothers me that as popular as she was, that she was also struggling financially. Like that's still like that's another topic for another day. But like that bothered me too. There's no reason in the world that someone as influential as you, as iconic as you, maybe not say iconic because I don't think that she was at that status yet, but like she could have been, because the way that the aesthetic that she had, it was a very clear aesthetic that people literally attributed to a room that was designed by Lisa Frank, right? Like you clearly are an influential person, so to be at that place and to still be struggling to pay your rent, like That particularly bothers me, because there is no good reason for that. And then for you to be in that place and then to also have your work stolen by somebody, that collaboration could have set her up for a long time. That could have paid her rent plus some. Like there is no reason why had to have lost so much that she did. And then to be told, "Nah, you tripping." So, a few years later, um, the Black Lives Matter movement started to happen. And this is when it was like really like popular. People was putting up all their performative black squares. Because I felt like all the black squares were performative. Like it really didn't matter who it was. I'm not gonna get on that soapbox. So everybody's putting up their performative black squares on their profile pictures. And Lisa Frank's account also put the black square up, right? And so Amina decided that like I'm about to call you out on what you did cuz you over here talking about Black Lives Matter, but this one didn't because you stole from me. And and affected my career. So she called her out on it, right? And so Lisa Frank's account then responded to it and basically told her like, well, we're so sorry. Not even, I don't even think they said sorry. Basically telling her like, nah, we didn't steal nothing. You must be mistaken. Like, I don't know. I can't believe that you would take something like the Black Lives Matter movement and make it about yourself. She's black. She's black. You what are you talking about? She is a black woman. It is about her. So like how was like I was listening to it and this is like real life. That part I'm not paraphrasing. They literally told her, I cannot believe that you would take this moment and make it about you. What? What? After you don't put up your little black square? Clearly doesn't whatever it is you're trying to portray here, that's not who you really are. Honestly, it isn't even really about her calling you out. It's about the fact that she's calling out your hypocrisy. And that's the response that you gave? Y'all, I I was like, do y'all see now why I need to go ahead and figure out how to get down to Tucson? Do y'all see now? Cause that was like the icing on the cake for me. I was like, oh, oh no. Meet me outside. Like where like pull up because I cannot believe that you really fixed your thumbs to type something like that after you done put up this little funky black square talking about Black Lives Matter. Girl, oh my gosh. I could not like whoo. Ooh, that made me mad. That made me so mad. And the thing, like when y'all see her content, when y'all see Amina, when you look at her content and you see what she created, the space that she created, and how much joy it brings. And then to see how it was stolen it with like just like no regard at all. It just like you just like curb stomped on her dreams. Like, and that's just like, oh, that's so crazy to me. And it just especially makes me mad because you were so irrelevant. Like, and this is me again. I loved Lisa Frank down. Okay. I loved me some Lisa Frank. And I can still admit by the 2000s, who cared? Who cared? Who really cared about you? How do you have so much audacity to be like, there's I don't get how you can make this about you. We didn't take this idea. What do no one was thinking about you. Nobody cared about you. It's just like it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Yeah, like the eviction was just like it like they I mean, it was like, you know what? We not only are we gonna stomp you out, but we also just like gonna spit on you and then kick you out the door. Like it just was like how much worse can we make you feel? So afterwards, nothing happened. So this that was the last that was like the last story basically of the docuseries. And so currently, the Lisa Frank, it's believed that the Lisa Frank warehouse in Tucson is gonna be back up and running. They've been doing some promotions, basically saying like we're back and like teasing it on social media. They have the ongoing, litigation between her and between Lisa Frank and the Glamour Dolls. Um, Amina, the creator, I have to look and see if she's still online, like if she's still creating. I'm not sure where she's at, but in the documentary, it seemed like she still was creating, like she found her way back to it. And that makes me happy because it absolutely suits her. And something like this, I would never want that to be the reason why somebody decided that they weren't going to ever create again. And so, yeah, those are the updates that they gave. And then of course, like I gave some of the updates on some of the employees. James, her husband, thank you, Mask. James, her husband, her ex-husband, he like lives in Mexico now and he owns um a bar and something else. And he like does his art like just like as a kind of like a hobby and he sells it too sometimes. Um they had kids. She has a son. She has like two sons actually, and one of her sons does not like her at all. He actually started talking about it a little bit on TikTok. I think his name is Hunter something. I forgot his handle. Mm, I can't think of his handle right now, but her son is on TikTok. One of her sons is on TikTok. But him and his father are close. He did not have a close relationship with Lisa. He actually said that it was um they were very distant and she was not kind to him. So it seems like the people that she was closest to, she just wasn't she just wasn't kind to those people. Um so Yeah, there's a couple of things that I didn't touch on from the documentary, but we would be here for multiple hours if I was going to go through all of them. But that's the updates on where everybody is. But yeah, absolutely, absolutely cruel. Um, Absolutely, she got her karma in a lot of ways. Lisa Frank just was not a brand that deserved to stay around because she wasn't kind to people. She didn't take care of people. She didn't care. And it got what it deserved. It does make me upset that like she's not answering for any of this stuff and has got the nerve to like get this company back up and running. But I'm glad that the documentary did come out because it gives a lot of us the insight that we need to make an informed decision. And so for me, as great as it was as a child, like I'm good on that now. Now I think that I still would like this aesthetic will still make me excited. If you're on YouTube, I have this on my background on TikTok, so I'm pointing to nothing on your end, but I'm pointing to the picture. I still love this aesthetic, and I love the concept of what it represents. And I would love even more to see this concept depicted through the lens of other people. I do not need it from Lisa Frank. It ain't gotta be Lisa Frank. So that's another big reason why I like creators like Amina. I really hope that she did get back to it, because seeing that, like seeing artists that are like as playful and fun and imaginative and bright and colorful, like I love being able to see them. And if anything, like I will want to encourage them that, like we still need perspectives like this in the world. We still need people who have those types of imaginations, who love the bright colors, the vivid colors, the glitters and the shiny things, and like the holographic. Like I like there's a space for you in this world, and we need artists with that perspective. And I would also encourage you to I would encourage you to, as much as you invest into your art, to also invest into yourself, and to allow yourself the space to process what you need to heal, to be a better person each and every day, to evolve, and to constantly like measure what that looks like. How do you treat people? How do you interact with people? How do you make people feel? Is the world that you're creating, does it only exist in your art, or does it also exist in how you interact with people and how you engage with people? Yeah, trademark everything. Yeah. Like how do you embody this perspective and this expression in your real life as well as in your art? Like, don't end up being that person who has such a beautiful perspective, but an ugly heart. Like, dang, that was poetic, y'all. I got snap for myself. But don't be that person. Okay? Like don't be that person. Um because I would love to see like people who have this same like view of life, the same perspective, without having to then hate the person. Like that just was one of the most like disheartening things to hear. And it's like there was no redemption. Thank you. Thank y'all. I see y'all. Preach, snap. Yeah, that was deep. That was deep. I can be poetic when I don't try. When I try, it's terrible. It's horrible. I don't ask me. I get terrible performance anxiety. But yeah, that's what I want to see more of. And so that's what I'm saying, y'all. That's my take on it. What did y'all think? What did y'all think? What were some of y'all takeaways from this conversation? I again, if you don't know, it's on Amazon Prime. It's the Lisa Frank documentary. So make sure y'all check it out. It is required watching. Okay, if you are a creative entrepreneur, this is required watching now. Like I'm putting this on the list of stuff that you are obligated to watch this now. Gotta watch this. Take your notes. Don't allow the voice of others to keep you from putting out what's on the inside of you. Yeah, I love that, Kayla. I love that. That's a great takeaway. Yeah, I love that. I think the biggest one for me, there's so many. I can't even say the biggest one, but the first one that comes to my mind as like the biggest takeaway is as I'm building this dream, to allow space for others to share their perspective on it too. Like, cause y'all know I'm really big on collaboration, and I'm really big on community, and the belief that I can't build it by myself. Like I can't do it alone. And I know that especially when it comes to creative work, I can hold on to what I feel like it should be too tightly. And as much as I feel like I'm doing that to protect my vision, it can also be restrictive to the people who are supposed to be doing this with me. And so I think that it was just like a reminder for me, and just like a, just like a nudge to continue to allow people to participate in the vision as it grows, and so that when I have my documentary, it's not people like telling you how terrible it was to work with me and how I crushed their dreams. I want my documentary to be one where like people took this and they was like, man, I was so inspired by working with Jada, and I felt so confident working with her that when I left that job, I was able to start my own company, or it inspired me to do this or to create that. Like I don't want to be that like villain in your story, like the one that like told you you couldn't do it or made you feel like you couldn't do it. So yeah, like that's what it did for me. It's gonna be full of, oh yeah, my documentary is gonna be full of and very we're gonna have to get sponsored by Kleenex. My documentary happens. Like, don't if you're gonna be in my documentary, y'all, this is just your warning now. Don't wear makeup, or like make sure that it's waterproof. Maybe I should just like hire somebody that does really good makeup that you can cry in, so that we can still look somewhat put together, because it's just gonna be tears everywhere. Makeup artist on site. We're gonna all be put together because we're gonna cry, and then we're gonna have to get Kleenex as well. Everyone who calls themselves a creator needs to learn business or find a business slash brand manager. Yes. Yes. Yes, Stephanie. You that is so you that the business side of things, if you are finding that you cannot manage people, you cannot manage the business, bring people on that can, because it is okay. Every creative, every artist is not going to be good at that. And you just got to know. Like, you just got to know, you know what? Actually, this is not my strong suit. And I'm not trying to burn my company to the ground. So let me hire help. Let me bring some people on, and making sure that you are also vetting those people as well, and making sure that they are people that are not just good at what they do business wise, but they know how to work well with people, like really really being good managers, and not just being like shrewd, or being the enforcer like homegirl was, because all of that stuff matters. And ultimately, especially if you are building a brand that's based off of your name, like if you are the face of your brand, which for most artists that's the case, you really got to be careful. You really got to be particular about who you bring on, because even if it's not you doing it, they're representing your name, and that's all going to fall back on you. So y'all, and if y'all don't know like what the difference is, like find out what a business manager does, find out what a brand manager does. I do help people with brand management. So if you're listening to this and you're like, "Ooh, I like the way that Jada operates or how she moves," let's have a conversation, because that's something that I'm very passionate about. I'm passionate about the business side, I'm passionate about the creative side, and that's what I love supporting people with. So but find out what those positions look like and what they do. Find out what skills are necessary to grow it, to sustain it, to make people feel like they want to be a part of it. And then figure out if that's what you need, because I don't think that people know like what that looks like and what it means. And if you've never even heard these terms or are familiar with them, then you, like I said, get familiar with those things, and you might find that, hey, I actually do need somebody to manage my business. I actually do need a brand manager. I do need people to do more of like the like executive or administrative roles of this so that I can be more on the artistic side, creative side of things. Like, really be honest about what you are capable of and what it will take for you to get to where you want to be. All right. Yeah, your commentary should be a YouTube short. I'm gonna try my best to make it a short, but I talk so much. I've been on here for an hour and 40 minutes. Oh my gosh. But I'm gonna take on the challenge and I'm gonna do my best to make it a short because it ends up being a long by accident and I apologize in advance. But yeah, use Opus. Okay. I can attest. I ain't even have a brand before meeting Jada. Oh, thank you, Kayla. Yeah, I'm basically in the collective. Like I am basically like y'all brand managers. So and I like enjoy every piece of it. Like I love being able for like y'all to come to me with your ideas, and then after we have our conversation, you're like, oh, I could turn this into this and then do that. Like helping you like navigate the logistics and like how to turn this into something profitable. Like that makes me excited. Like I could do that all day. I had a call on Christmas Day, actually, I had a call with one of my collective members, and we were just like talking through just like a plan to get some of her products out and her marketing and her podcast. And it was just such a dope conversation. By the end of it, like she left with like this new idea. I got to check and see where she's at with it, but this new idea for um some content that she could put out. And I was like just listening to her talk about it. And I was like, oh, like you should talk about stuff from this perspective and turn it into this. And then you can add add your business into this and put your product here. So like I enjoy being able to navigate that and figure it out, help people to know like what does it look like to use my voice in this way? How can I be me, be authentic, be creative, and still make a business out of it, like, and not just treat it like a hobby. So, y'all, I love it. I love doing it. Yes, yeah, we love Kayla. Stephanie saying that she loves you, Kayla. She's over here on YouTube. I'm glad I caught it sort of at the beginning. Yes, Tiffany. Yes, and if you didn't catch it, if you came in later, I am recording this on YouTube as well. So if you want to go through and listen to like all the takes from the beginning, then make sure you go and check it out. But yeah, Kayla says she love y'all too. It's love. It's all love. So yeah, y'all, that's my take on it. What I will say is my last thing that I'm gonna say. But like real life, if you do want somebody to manage your brand, I will be taking on clients starting the beginning of 2025. So I will have spots available. I think I'll have um 5 spots available for actually no, sorry, 4 spots available for brand management for 2025. And then if you are not at the place where you need a brand manager, but you want to work on establishing your brand, then you want to make sure that you're around when enrollment opens up for the Getting Unshy Collective, because that's where you can, if you're more in like the beginning stages or you're like in the rebranding stage and you're trying to figure out what it looks like to get back into this entrepreneur thing, then the collective is going to be a great place for you to start to practice that, to develop those skills, to develop your product so that you can feel confident speaking about it authentically, learning how to monetize it, all that good stuff inside the collective. So those are the two things that I'm going to really be pushing for next year in terms of working with people. There's going to be some other things like further down the line, but starting next year, that's going to be the two ways that you can work with me. And then, oh, y'all, the cross platform, the cross platform love. I do go live, Tiffany, at least 2 or 3 times a week. So most of the time it's on TikTok, and then at least once a week is over on YouTube. So that might switch, and I might end up being more on YouTube than TikTok, especially like depending on how things go with the band. But yeah, I'm usually live pretty often. So make sure you come around. I'm always talking about interesting things related to branding, creatives, entrepreneurship, giving my hot takes on stuff that I feel like is relevant to talk about in culture. So yeah, put your notifications on. The last thing, y'all, that I have that I completely forgot about it. That was like my whole purpose of going live today. But then the Lisa Frank documentary happened and I completely forgot. Hey Layla. Um, I am I am over on Substack. Okay. So Substack is a platform that allows you to create written content, blogs, notes, things like that, right? And I have a workbook called the Getting Unshy Workbook, which is a branding workbook that helps you from the beginning. If you're a beginner and you're just like thinking about what do I want to do? How do I want to monetize my creativity? How do I want to show up authentically? Then the Getting Unshy Workbook is a great place for you to start if you know that you want to get into it, right? So I have to rewrite this workbook because throughout this year, there have been so many things that I've learned. I've been able to work with so many people, and I'm realizing that there needs to be some additions to this workbook, right? So I've decided that I'm going to rewrite it live, which is going to look like blog post entries. So I'm going to be sharing some new like revelations and just like ways of branding, ways of getting unshy, ways of showing up. One of the first entries that I'm going to be doing is expanding the section that's called selling without being a sellout, which is how to sell without feeling salesy or gross or gimmicky. Because I know for a lot of people, especially if you are somebody who identifies with being shy, selling just feels unnatural. Like it feels uncomfortable, and you want to know, how do I do this without feeling like disgusting when I talk about my products. So I am expanding that section in the workbook, and I'm going to be doing it through a series of blog posts. So if you want to be a part of this rewrite, if you want to learn different things about branding, how to sell, how to discover your identity, how to find out what content to create, and you want to do it in a way where you can kind of just like pick up on things as I'm learning about them and reworking it, then you're going to want to subscribe to my Substack. The link to it is in my bio. I have to put it in the description on YouTube. Um, so that you can go directly to it, but it's going to be a subscriber only Substack. It's going to be just $8 a month, and you're going to get to be a part of this whole branding workbook rewrite that I'm doing. So I'm going to find a more concise way to explain that. I'm gonna find it one of these days, but I told myself I need to at least tell people that it's happening. So that's what's going on. So if you want to subscribe, it's $8 a month. And each month I'm gonna be doing at minimum 3 to 4 blog posts. Just talking about different things with branding, different things with identity, content, um, creating like your brand profile. All of that is going to be inside of the Substack. So if you want to get started on that now, if one of your goals for 2025, like real life though, for real, if one of your goals for 2025 is to actually create and monetize that creativity, if you know that you want to do it, if you want to take your content creation seriously, if you want to take your art seriously, if you want to get back into entrepreneurship, if you want to know what it looks like to have something else going on besides your 9 to 5, and you want to do that in a way that takes into account that you might not be the most loud person or the most extroverted person, but you want to know what that looks like to monetize your creativity authentically, then getting unshy is still to this day the one of the few frameworks that I've seen that takes that into account. Like I always felt like the shy people, the people who don't want to be shy anymore, because that was really me, the people who are a little bit more quiet, the people who are a little bit out of the box, the people who are not necessarily like the hard salespeople, but they still want to put their work out there, and they want to get paid for it, and they want to build a community, and they want to be around people, and feel like what they're putting out in the world is meaningful. They dream about something outside of their job. and doing something that feels fulfilling. Like I know that there are so many people who are experiencing that right now. And the workbook, getting unshy, not just the workbook, but getting unshy in general, no matter how you work with me, it takes that into account because I just feel like we're the people that get overlooked when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to selling, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to content, when it comes to running a business. I feel like we are so often overlooked and um underestimated. And so what I created is really for those people, is for us, so that we can see that I can still make money without being manipulative. I can still make money without like, cold calling people or feeling like I constantly have to pitch myself or I can only be online selling, 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 talking about things, promoting things. Like if that's not you, there is a space for you. There is something for you that takes that into account and allows you to still express it and be that entrepreneur that you want to be. So, if that's one of your goals, then I would absolutely suggest checking out the Substack and starting there. And then as you start to get more confident and more comfortable and more clear about what you want, then that's when you will start to get to the Getting Unshy Collective or even working with me one on one as a brand manager. So you have some different options to like take it even further, but that's where I would suggest starting because that's one of my biggest missions is to show people that there's more than one way to show up as an entrepreneur. So yeah, I'm so excited to follow along with Getting Unshy on Substack. Yeah, I'm gonna be sharing it. I'm definitely gonna be sharing it in the collective. So y'all gonna be getting this stuff first. But I was thinking about like a fun way to rewrite the workbook, um, but make it more interactive. So yeah. Yeah. All right, y'all. So that's what I got. I had a lot of fun with this conversation and I'm a little sad that it's over, but I like don't have nothing else to say now. I legit don't have nothing else to add. So I'll be back. It probably won't be till like maybe Sunday. Wait, what's Sunday? Yeah. Let's say Sunday for sure. If I'm on tomorrow, it'll just be because I was just like, you know what, let's just hang out. But for sure, I'll be back on Sunday and we're gonna be talking about something. I don't know yet. And that's what we're gonna do. All right. So y'all be good. Thanks for hanging out with me and making this such a fun conversation. Welcome to all of the new people that are here. Yeah, I like legit ran out of stuff to say. Like I'm content now. I can be quiet. So thanks for all the new people that's here. I'm so happy to be connected to y'all and be meeting y'all. Hopefully this won't be your last live. And that's it. Okay. Talk to y'all later.